All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to Power Living with Kimberly Langford. And I'm glad you're here today. I have a super exciting guest. As a nurse, coach, Reiki master, and entrepreneur, Kimberly, that's me, has been, I've built my life and work around helping and empowering others to live their best, healthiest, most authentically happy and powerful lives. Here I share and visit with experts on all aspects of wellness: physical, emotional, financial, career, business, health, relationships, environment, and more. So if you want to step into your best self, listen in every Saturday morning as we share new and old ideas to help set you up for the coming week as a fresh start for a better and better you. And I really am super excited. Talk about some new and old ideas. Karie Lee. Gosh, Karie, we've been friends now for how many? It's been a long time.
Yeah,
It's been
probably
more than a decade. That's crazy. And I'm super excited to share you. I know I've always been enamored with you, as my daughter is. So Karie's going to share. She's got a really interesting story. She came from the fast lane. Now she's in the holistic lane, coming from data to today. She is a sought after expert in primitive skills. She's a primitive skills instructor. She's an energy medicine practitioner, and she owns a Numinous Living, a practice there in Sandpoint, Idaho. She's a brain tanner, and I know a lot of people don't even know what that is, Karie. She's a herbalist, a naturalist, and she also helps out as a mentor at InnerPathWorks. She does so much good for so many folks, not just in North Idaho, but she gets around. So I'm just glad you're here, and we're just eager to hear your story, and tell us a little bit about your path, and what's got you excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been an interesting life for sure. I'll just have to back up a little bit and say, well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And your work is so amazing of what you bring forward as well. So a little bit on my history is I grew up in the small town north of Seattle area. And as a kid, all I wanted to do was be outside. And I was really concerned about the environment and the earth as an 8-year-old. I think I was like a mini environmentalist activist when I was a kid. I used to walk home from school and pick up the garbage out of the ditches because that's what I did. But yeah, I think from an early age, I kind of knew who I was. But then I went through, school, and I went to college. My first degree was going to be psychology, and then I realized that you had to go to school for like 13 years before you made any money, and that's why we go to school. So I was like in this programmed state of mind that, yeah, I'm going to school because I want to make money, and I want my kids to not be poor when they grow up. And but I was also really good at math. And when I found out that I had to go to school for 13 years to make money, I switched over to computer science. It was easy for me, and my dad.
Oh, we lost Karie for a minute. It's not Heidi Hampy, but Karie Lee. We lost her for a minute. She's coming to us from her yurt, which she built. She's on top of a mountain, so we'll give her a minute to come back. Oh, anyway, so you went to school, you got your degree in computer science because you didn't want to be married to school for 13 years before you could start living.
Right. Because it was easy for me, but it wasn't really what I was passionate about. And that's kind of my point is, yes, I went through to college. I ended up getting a business degree. So I had 2.5 degrees by the time I finished college. Went off, did the career thing, because that's what we do. That's what we've been training for. Ended up being a computer consultant for 5 years, and yeah, I worked for Microsoft, I worked for PIMCO Insurance, and all those very corporate uh, companies where, you know, we had to wear high heel shoes and nylons. This was before it was cool to be casual at work, you know, in the 90s. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I had the big hair, all of that.
Oh, I remember the big hair.
Yeah.
You did the safe
So,
thing versus following your heart. You did the safe thing.
right. Yeah. So, eventually I got burnt out because it wasn't feeding me. It wasn't feeding my heart. And I was always, I kind of lost connection with nature. I go on hikes. Whenever I wasn't working, I'd be out going on hikes and backpacking. That was my favorite thing. Kind of a weekend warrior like that. But I realized that if I wanted to be happy, I wanted to be out in the woods all the time, then I might as well live in the woods. So what am I doing? And so I ended up traveling for 3 years, trying to figure out what was I doing with my life. And at the end of the 3 years, I decided to move here in northern Idaho. My grandparents lived here, so I always knew about it. So yeah, I moved here and quit my career. I think I got a job as a lift operator and a bartender. Like I've never done either before. But anyway, but I got my feet grounded again, and I learned Reiki, and I realized as far as the energy medicine was concerned, this was the part of the psychology I was interested in, but I was so naive as a young adult, I had no idea what it was called. And psychology's totally changed since the 90s. We know so much more. Actually, I was in the 80s when I was in college. But there was something there, and I wasn't really sure what it was. And over time, I realized it's really about the unseen things. I wasn't interested in the research of, you know, well, if this happens, then this happens, you know, that kind of psychological research. I was really interested in the phenomenon, the unseen things, the things we don't understand. So that's kind of the area I dove into, was first learning some Reiki, and then I studied with the Four Winds, and we did the light body energy healing there. And I've finished just recently 2-year certification with the Eden method. So I studied with Donna Eden, who's clairvoyant and a master. She sees all 9 energy systems that our bodies have, and has given me just a wealth of knowledge about how the body works energetically. And at the same time, spending more time outside, around in 2006, we had one of those big life disasters that happen occasionally. Failed relationship, and I ended up on the not so great end of the financial spectrum from that relationship breakup. But I was given the opportunity to start my life all over again and ask myself, what is it that I really want to be doing? How do I want to live? How I'm going to be recreating my home. And I went back to that 8-year-old self that says, I want to camp all the time. I don't want to live in a square house. And I'd already bought the yurt. And so, which is what I'm living in. You see behind me, these are the rafters that go up.
So
and so I put my yurt up.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. I lift it up, you can see out the top, maybe even see the trees out there. But so I rearranged it so that this was my big tent. And I live out in the woods, totally off grid, not connected to anything. I collect my own rainwater. I know exactly how much water I use a year because I collect it in barrels. I have firewood is my only source of heat. So I get that off of the land. I have a 1 solar panel with 2 batteries. It's a very minimal solar system, just enough for electronics and lights, and that's about it. And yeah, no cable, nothing else. Eventually I did get a propane stove and refrigerator, so I was 8 years with no electricity whatsoever, just using candles and oil lamps. And what that does is it really tunes you into nature.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
by living with the rhythms of nature, you know, at night when it gets dark, most people flip on all their lights and their activities are really big. They're
Mm-hmm.
maybe doing dishes, they're doing this and that, because they still have all that light. In old times, when our light was reduced, we had candles, we came down to these small activities, and it might be crafting or reading, or there's small activities, and that's natural way of living. So by living close to nature, I was able to attune my lifestyle to be with the seasons, with the weather. I always know if it's raining or windy out, you know. And that's part of what I teach, is how to come into a natural rhythm of living your life with nature's rhythms.
And
I
you know, it's interesting, Karie. I've worked with folks, you know, as a nurse. I remember one time going to see this patient. There had been a storm that had gone through Sandpoint, and there's no electricity. They had moved into a, a hotel, and so I went and saw them in the hotel. And I remember them saying, "How are you doing any work without electricity?" And of course, we just kind of laugh because, you know, I lived out in the sticks myself, and, you know, we didn't have power sometimes. And, you know, a lot of people don't have power and they do just fine. But so many people have become so dependent, besides the effect it has on, you know, I think when we're plugged in, it's really important to have some time to plug out, to unplug, so that we can get our bodies in a more natural rhythm. And, you know, when you're on all the time, I was talking to a friend of mine about how, you know, when you're used to going 100 miles an hour and you slow down to 80, which is still really fast, it feels like you're crawling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our bodies are always charging, and that's really hard on it's hard on our physical body, and it can be very draining on our energy body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also not being connected to the earth, which is a big reason why so many people are having trouble with EMFs, is because we're no longer connected to the earth. We live in wood houses, we wear rubber shoes, we drive cars with rubber tires. We're never physically connected to the earth, which is a whole nother spiel.
There's so many benefits. I talk all the time, when you have a chance, take off your shoes, if for nothing else, for your flora. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's a really important thing right now. Can you just share just a bird's eye overview? Why would somebody want to take off their shoes and walk on something other than asphalt or concrete?
Right. Yeah, 20 minutes without shoes, we are electromagnetic beings, and we need to be plugged into Earth. Like magnets on a refrigerator, we need to be plugged in. And by doing that, allows the energies to move through our bodies, and it boosts the immune system. It regulates our hormones. It does, there's so many health benefits to being actually plugged into the earth. Otherwise, we're just kind of floating around and we're lost. We get spun out really easily.
Yes. So that grounding, just to reiterate, since we kind of cut out a little bit, she talked about how as we connect with the earth, or we call that grounding sometimes, that boosts our immune system, which is huge. It can help fill us up so the energy can flow through us for our physical health, our emotional health, our energetic health. See if we got her back. Oh, we lost her for just a minute. She'll pop back. So while she's popped out, and we can talk about her without her maybe here. She'll hear it though. But I tell you, so she has some classes. I know this summer she had classes that were very well attended, where she takes her clients out. And you heard her mention how, you know, she went 8 years without a refrigerator. Well, some people say, well, how do you do that? People have done that for centuries, and she can, in the forest where she lives, she can forage. She can teach others how to forage, and find. She had some amazing posts sharing the meals that she and her class would gather from being out and about. Welcome to the world of solar. She forgot she's popping right back on. And the one really fantastic thing, I know years and years ago, I lived out on a small lake, and we were without power 31 days. It wasn't a big deal because we were prepared. We had alternate heat, we had alternate energy, we had fresh water that we had stored. And it's super important, even if we're not living off the land like Karie Lee does, it's really important. One of the concepts of being anti-fragile is that when something unexpected happens, it doesn't totally topple your house. Disasters are going to happen. We see more disasters, it seems, these days. And it's important, the important concept about being anti-fragile means that you're prepared for those things. So when you lose power, it's not a big deal. What do you really need power for, right? If you work, maybe you've got some gas storage, and you got to be careful with gas storage. Please learn how to do that properly. Water storage is really important. People can go without food for a while. You can't go without water. So a lot of people know to have 3-day supply of food, and this should be food that's non-perishable. And like Karie Lee does, could you, if you had to leave your home, if there was a horrible disaster, would you know how to find food? Would you know how to do that? And those are really important skills that can help you be anti-fragile. I think the other part that she talked about that was really impressive and really meaningful, and I can't remember, there's a Japanese word for the concept, and now I've lost the noun, but it talks about one of the keys of longevity and living a happy and long-lasting life is that, as Karie talked about, she was living a life that wasn't in harmony with who she was. And because of that, she felt depleted. You heard her mention that she felt burnt out. She didn't have the energy to really bring. If you are in Karie Lee's presence, and I know we've got kind of a shaky signal there, but she radiates. She has a gloriously radiant spirit about her that's palpable. You will feel it when you're in her presence. And I think a lot of that comes because she's really living a life that's full of authentic integrity. And, you know, integrity has so much to do with being honest with our fellow beings. But integrity also has a lot to do with how we live in accordance with what we know to be our truth, right? And when we live in a manner that's alternate from what we know to be truth, it creates discord. It creates discord and stress and disharmony. And that can result in burnout. It can result in physical ailments, headaches, stomach aches, vision trouble. People have all kinds of even physiological and psychological nervousness, depression, anxiety, all those kinds of things can come into play. So she took major shifts to live in a manner that was really nourishing for who she was as a being, as a person. She lives a glorious life. She's living exactly how she wants to live. And really another concept that I think about, I talk about with my kids all the time, is that when you find something you love to do, something that really energizes you, something that while you're doing it, you totally lose track of time, right? You enter flow, which we can talk about that on another session. But that's such a wonderful way to really be. And when you find that thing that you do, that you love to do so much, you put all your energy into it, you can monetize it. Karie's been able to do that. And that's how she earns her living. She earns her living by living. So she teaches classes. This last year, she had a class on making drums. So brain tanning, she will actually take the hide of an animal. She uses it for all kinds of things. She'll tan that hide and she can use it for drums or anything, tents, shelter, clothing, anything like that. Let's see. Oh, okay. And so wealth of knowledge, if you find that you have questions for Karie, we'll get her on the phone to wrap up here if she can't pop on. But if you find you have questions for Karie, you can find her on Facebook and on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, she is Karie Lee. It's Karie Lee. And you'll see her LinkedIn page is titled Numinous Living, the Spirit in Everything. She's got some fantastic articles. She talks about energy medicine. She's got some great information on her LinkedIn page. On Facebook, you can find her work there. You can look up InnerPathWorks, and she's there as well as Karie Lee, Karie Lee. And is it?
Does it still sound good on speaker?
Yeah, you sound great on speaker. We're going to share a little bit about your primitive living classes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We're back. Way to be off grid, having power struggle. So yeah, during that time, it was really a pivotal time of my life where I got to start all over. When I was introduced to some people who were doing primitive skills, and this was a passion of mine that I'd had, again, when I was 8 years old. I read My Side of the Mountain, and all I wanted to do was go off into the mountains, live with nothing but my knife and, survive. And I thought that was just kind of a childhood dream, but I didn't realize that people actually do those kind of things. So you could say I found my tribe. I found these people that gather twice a year and learn primitive and ancestral skills. And that just opened up my world. And so now I'm a primitive skills instructor, and you could say I teach brain tanning, and I grab, so this is a tank top that I made quite a while ago. There's some intricate stitching there, and you can do amazing things like this bag is made out of elk hocks. So this is the forearm of the elk with the little dew claws right here.
Uh-huh.
The little bitty bag. And so that just really opened my world because that's really what I was passionate about. So now I teach those skills, and I've worked on a way of how to bring the energy medicine, herbology, the primitive skills, and I really dive into the spirit realm. That's really what I was interested in.
Oh, you're going to have to stay closer to the phone so we can hear you.
Okay.
There you go.
I was really interested in the spirit realms, and so my kind of niche in the primitive skills is I teach the spirit of behind what's behind each skill. For example, for brain tanning, instead of teaching just how to buck the hide, how to scrape the hide, how to make the buckskin, step A, B, C, or D, I really work with, well, how do we connect with that deer? That skin belonged on a deer, and it has scars on it. And as you know, we might have a scar on our finger or on our body, and we all have, oh yeah, I did that when blah, blah, blah. We all have a story behind each scar that we have. And so I like to take that into consideration when we're working with the deer of, what's the story of that person, that deer, And what's the story behind that deer, and how do we honor that and have respect for the deer people? And so I take that niche and try to bring back the spirituality behind all of the skills. And so this all comes back around to living close to nature and becoming in tune with our rhythms of how we live in tune with nature, with respect to nature, in balance, and to the plant kingdom of making medicines and eating wild food. Rewilding is the new term. It's a new movement that's really popular right now, which is great because I've been doing it for a while. And so I teach these types of things, and I have an 8-day immersion retreat where I take people out into the wilderness and just really allow ourselves to slow down, give gratitude, have an appreciation, work on our awareness skills, our mindful awareness, and how to really become attuned with nature, and how to reconnect ourselves with nature to become grounded in gratitude, appreciation, and respect with nature. And how do we use that? We use the primitive skills to kind of get back to our primordial, our primal selves. And that really triggers a lot of our ancestral stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very powerful. And through that, you may be able to realize, like, how do you take this back to the modern world? What am I doing? What's my purpose in this life? Where's my truth? Because you're taking a step back and connecting in that way, and to hopefully bring that forward back into your daily life.
Yes. And to, that's such an important skill in a busy life, to figure out, how am I going to stay grounded? How do I, and we know in terms of success and achievement, which a lot of folks that I work with, that's what they're working for, success. They're very driven, success and achievement. And sometimes we mistakenly think that to achieve success or to grow, that we have to push and we have to fight and claw and get up early and stay up late and go. And what we find is people who do live the most successful lives, the most with the most happiness, those folks, they don't push. It's more of a concept of like being in rhythm and to allow ourselves to receive. When we're pushing really hard and going really fast, it's hard to receive anything. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. How much can you really swallow, right?
Yeah. Yes, I think the more we slow down, the more we can allow for that divine guidance to come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're all here for a reason. We all have a purpose, and we all have a connection with God, the Goddess, Great Spirit, however you want to address that for yourself, and that's individual for each person. But having that opening and really working from that heart is where we get that connection to our divine guidance of how we can step forward. And then from working from that place, from your heart, and working in that divine place that we all have, our soul's purpose, our soul's truth, it becomes easy. It's not fighting, like you're saying. It's not fighting. Yep. And the universe will back you up. It'll line you up.
Absolutely.
And everything will come forward. And it's just a matter of having that trust and faith.
Mm-hmm. And haven't you found, Karie, that the more that you respond to that, sometimes we call that intuition. Haven't you found the more that you act in faith, the more proof you get, right? The more real that those things are.
Yeah, and you're talking to a scientist here.
Yeah, me too.
Every step of the way,
yeah.
I'm very skeptical, and I'm not woo-woo, and everything's had to be proven to me, and it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes proof in a different way, and science is catching up.
Absolutely. So Karie, if we have folks who, if we have driven folks who think, gosh, this sounds like something I could benefit from, how do they reach you? How do they find out about your programs?
Oh, that's a good question. I have a website. It's numinous-living.com. Numinous is spelled like luminous, the L, but numinous, NUMINOUS-living.com. And the word numinous itself means the connection to spirit, this recognizing the spirit in everything, which is what I've been talking about, because there is spirit in everything that we do and in all living things. I also have a Facebook page, which is Numinous Living. I am also on LinkedIn as Karie Lee. So those are 3 ways that I can be found on the internet.
Awesome. All right. Well, Karie, I got to tell you, selfishly and personally, it's so great to see you. I always delight to see you. While you were off, I was telling folks, last time I saw you was in front of that bowl, the acai bowl place there in Sandpoint. And you carry a spirit about you that's palpable. I would describe the energy that you share is gloriously, it's gloriously luminous. You just glow, and it's a palpable spirit that you share. Matter of fact, my daughter picked up on that real quick. And so she's looking forward to coming to your classes. I told her, I says, you can go stay with Karie Lee anytime.
She's welcome to come out, and you too.
Absolutely. I'll sign up.
Come out to the yurt.
Yeah,
The sauna.
Yeah, I want to play in your bathhouse, sister.
Yep, that's the newest addition to the off-grid living thing, and I've got the best garden ever. But yeah, it'd be amazing for you guys to come out. And I'm just now putting my schedule together for this next year of what classes I'm offering. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, keep me posted. I'd love to share. And we appreciate you sharing time with us today. So yeah. All right. Thanks, Karie.
And it's so wonderful to see you.
You too.